Alright, today is November 24th and we're back with more NBA picks. Make sure you subscribe, give this video a like, and drop a comment. I appreciate all the support. Let's jump straight into today's matchups. Detroit Pistons versus Indiana Pacers. For this matchup, I'm siding with Detroit -8. The Pistons are 14-2, riding a 6-game road win streak, and they've been dominant as favorites. Indiana continues to struggle defensively, allowing over 122 points per game, and with Detroit ranked top 5 in defense, this feels like a spot where they control the matchup from start to finish. For the player prop, I'm taking Pascal Siakam over 23.5 points. He's hit or gone above this line in 4 of his last 5 games and continues to carry the offensive load. With Indiana likely trailing, the volume should be there again. Cleveland Cavaliers versus Toronto Raptors. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Toronto Raptors -2.5. Toronto is shooting 50% from the field, moving the ball well with over 30 assists per game, and coming off a strong win where they shot 53.6% and controlled the pace. Cleveland can score, but their turnovers and inconsistent defense, especially allowing 116 plus points per game, match up poorly against a Raptors offense that's efficient and disciplined at home. For the player prop, I'm going RJ Barrett over 22.5 points. He's coming off a 22-point performance on 50% shooting, and with Toronto's offense running through him more after recent lineup changes, the volume and efficiency are both trending in the right direction. With Cleveland struggling defensively against wings, this is a strong spot to take the over. New York Knicks versus Brooklyn Nets. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Brooklyn Nets +14. Brooklyn has struggled, but they've covered in spots where they're large underdogs, going 2-2 ATS as a +14 or higher dog. Meanwhile, New York has only been in this position once and barely covered. For the player prop, I'm going Jalen Brunson, over 28.5 points, 0 Deshaun. He's averaging 28.4 PPG this season and remains the primary scorer, especially against weaker defenses. Brooklyn ranks 29th in defensive rating and allows nearly 40% shooting from 3. Miami Heat versus Dallas Mavericks. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Miami Heat -8. Miami comes in with momentum winners of 4 straight and sitting at 11-6, while Dallas continues to struggle at 5-13. The Heat are one of the most efficient offensive teams in the league right now, averaging 124.9 points per game. Their ball movement and spacing have been a huge part of this recent run. On the other side, the Mavericks are giving up 116 points per game and have covered the spread only once in their last 4 as an 8+ point underdog. For the player prop, I'm taking Norman Powell over 25.5 points. Powell has been one of the most reliable scorers for Miami, averaging 25.4 points per game and leading the team in shot volume. Dallas struggles defending perimeter scorers, giving up high-efficiency looks from deep and mid-range, which is Powell's strength. With Miami playing fast and the total sitting high, the volume should be there. Denver Nuggets versus Memphis Grizzlies. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Denver Nuggets -7.5. Denver comes in at 12-4 and riding a 5-game road winning streak, while Memphis continues to struggle at 6-11 and just 1-11 as an underdog this season. The Nuggets rank near the top of the league in scoring at 123.8 points per game, and when they clear 116, they're 11-3 overall. For the player prop, I'm taking Cam Johnson over 13.5 points. He's hit this number in 3 of his last 4 games, including performances of 20, 19, and 14 points. His minutes have been consistent, all 32+, and the usage is there. With steady involvement and recent production trending upward, this line sits in a playable range. Milwaukee Bucks versus Portland Trail Blazers. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Portland Trail Blazers +2. Milwaukee enters this one on a 4-game losing streak and sits at 8-9, while Portland comes in more competitive recently at 7-10 and has covered the spread in 7 of their last 10 as an underdog of 2 points or more. The Bucks have struggled defensively during this stretch, allowing 119.6 points per game, and they haven't been consistent covering as a small favorite. Meanwhile, Portland ranks top 10 inches scoring at 119.6 ppg and has been more reliable ATS, especially recently. For the player prop, I'm taking Deni Avdija over 25.5 points. He's averaging 25.1 points per game, leads Portland in scoring, and continues to see strong volume as their primary offensive option. With both teams trending high scoring and the total sitting at 235 plus, Avdija should have the usage and pace needed to clear this line. New Orleans Pelicans versus Chicago Bulls. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Chicago Bulls negative 3.5. Chicago enters this game in much better form, winning 3 of their last 4, including tough wins over Denver, Portland, and Washington. Their offense has been strong, averaging 120.8 points per game, and they've shown they can close out tight games late. On the other side, New Orleans has been struggling heavily, currently on a 9-game losing streak and sitting at 2-15 on the season. With major injuries to Zion Williamson, Jordan Poole, and multiple key rotation players, the Pelicans simply don't have enough scoring or depth to keep up. For the player prop, I'm taking Josh Giddey over 20.5 points. He's averaging 20.6 points per game, leads Chicago in scoring, and continues to play with high usage while nearly averaging a triple-double. With the Pelicans ranking bottom of league offensively and defensively, Giddey should have plenty of opportunity and pace to clear this number. Houston Rockets versus Phoenix Suns. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Phoenix Suns plus 5.5. Houston enters strong at 10-4 and one of the highest scoring teams in the league at 122.9 points per game, but Phoenix has quietly covered in 11 of their last 13 when scoring more than 112 points. The Suns have also won 4 games outright as an underdog, and they match up well against teams that play fast and push tempo. Phoenix sits top 6 in points allowed per game and top 12 offensively, meaning they have both the defensive structure and scoring pace to stay competitive here. For the player prop, I'm taking Kevin Durant over 27.5 points. Phoenix will rely heavily on KD's scoring in a matchup with one of the top offenses in the league. The pace should be fast, the shot volume will be there, and in competitive high-scoring matchups, Durant tends to take over. With the game total sitting at 226.5, the scoring environment favors his over. Golden State Warriors versus Utah Jazz. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Utah Jazz plus 13.5. Golden State sits at 9-9, while Utah comes in at 5-11, but this number is simply too big based on recent trends. The Warriors are averaging 114.8 points per game, and while their defense ranks top 12, they haven't consistently shown dominance as a big favorite. Utah, meanwhile, has covered in 5 of the 7 games where they've scored more than 114 points, and they continue to stay competitive offensively, averaging 118.1 points per game. For the player prop, I'm taking Lauri Markkanen over 29.5 points. Markkanen enters ranking 7th in the NBA in scoring at 29.3 ppg, and with Utah likely trailing at some point, his shot volume should remain high. Golden State has struggled guarding stretch forwards, and with Utah relying heavily on Markkanen's scoring to stay competitive, the usage and role support the over. Minnesota Timberwolves versus Sacramento Kings. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Minnesota Timberwolves -9. Minnesota enters this game at 10-6 and ranking inside the top tier offensively at 120.1 points per game, while Sacramento continues to struggle defensively, allowing 124.4 points per game and sitting near the bottom of the West at 4-13. The absence of Domantas Sabonis impacts their interior defense and rebounding, and with Minnesota shooting efficiently and pushing pace, this matchup leans toward another strong offensive showing. For the player angle, I'm taking Anthony Edwards over 28.5 points. He's cleared this number in 2 of his last 3, including a 41-point performance against Phoenix and a 30-point game earlier versus Sacramento. His usage remains high, and with Sacramento allowing one of the highest opponent scoring averages in the league, this sets up well for Edwards' volume and shot profile. Make sure you subscribe, give this video a like, and leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next breakdown.